Yeah, sure. Yeah, I got to meet Saul Koll. Forget when I was living in New York City. It might have been 2013, 2014. But I met him through my friend David Torn, who had a guitar built for him by Saul called the Tornado, which this is my own version of one of Koll's Tornadoes. And you know, I kind of got into the idea of the whammy bar as sort of like this really vocal, evocative kind of effect on the guitar. It's not just good for like horse sound effects, you know. But that's another thing that I got really into listening to David Torn and Jeff Beck, the way that they kind of can barely touch this thing and make it evoke all these kind of vocal qualities. So the first thing I did was I got like an old Mexican Strat, and my dad and I like kind of hollowed out the cavity in the back so that you can pull up on the bar and get, you know, kind of bigger bends than you usually would without having to go the Floyd Rose route and kind of clipping the strings and all that kind of losing sustain kind of deal. So anyways, the Tornado that Koll made for David Torn, that was like really beautiful instrument to me, and David's always been a big inspiration and really generous with his knowledge, and he's taught me a lot about kind of using the whammy bar and touch and all that, so definitely owe him a huge debt of gratitude. And so anyways, I got to meet Saul and we talked about kind of building an instrument, and here we are with this one. I have another one. I have a Koll Superior, which is a little faster, a little lighter, a little smaller at home, and I think he's building me a third one now, which is another Tornado with a different set of pickups. But yeah, it's just a real treat to play. I can play on anything, but I like playing on this. So.
Yes. Well, it's a very distinctive guitar too. Starting with the tuning pegs. Do you mind just taking us from nose to tail?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think a lot of stuff is hip shot. These tuning pegs are hip shot. They are locking tuners, but not because I need them with the whammy bar usage. They're locking tuners because it allows for a faster string change on stage instead of having to do a bunch of raps and getting out with the drill press and stuff. These, they'll pull in, they'll lock in the back, and then I just twist them up. They're cylindrical, which is kind of like just dealer's choice. They just kind of look cool. So
they do look cool.
I have them on there. But then after that, it's just regular standard nut. It's cut really, really clean, and I think that's really the key to having a whammy bar that stays in tune with some abuse. Fender scale, 25.5-inch neck, Curtis Novak. I think these are the Gaia-tone version of the gold foils.
Oh, very hip.
Yeah, and then hip shot bridge. But I changed the saddles. These, I think they're called Highwood saddles. They're sort of Strat saddles. They kind of have recessed screws and a little curve, bent steel. But you know, it's just a 2-point Strat-style bridge. There's nothing really fancy. I got 2 springs in the back and a V. There's no locking nut. It's just locking tuners, but that's a string change thing. Master tone, master volume, 3-way switch for the pickups, and then I got a mute switch as well. And a lot of times I'm in middle position. I know a lot of guitar players think middle position's kind of weird or like only good for one thing, but I like it a lot. I like it because these are single coil pickups, so if I get some hum, I can throw it in there and not worry about it. But I also like that it's got cut, but it's got body at the same time. You know, and I paid for both pickups, so I want to get my money's worth and use them at the same time.
That makes sense.
So that's
Don't let them languish.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The body is, the wood is all Carina body, Carina neck, rosewood fretboard.
And how long have you had this particular guitar?
This one I actually got in April of 2020. I was going to go out to that last NAMM show. Well, I did in January 2020, and I played on the Koll truck. And the idea was he was going to have this guitar ready for me, and I'd play on the Koll truck and take the guitar home. And I get out there, and he's like, "Mike, don't kill me. The guitar is not ready, but can you play this one instead?" So I played one of the Super Cubs, which he makes that are really cool too, and I had a good time. And then I got home after that, and then, you know, lockdown happened in March, and then the guitar showed up in April, and I was like, well, this isn't a bad time to have a new instrument show up. You know, a lot of time at home to get to know it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but I used this on the last mssv tour last year, 48 shows, and the last recording, and the second recording that Watt and I did with Jim Keltner called Everywhere We Go. That's all this guitar too.